Welcome back, guys. So, something's about to happen to the game that hasn't happened in quite a while, and it's not very often where one new set introduces multiple decks that can completely change the format of the game. We saw it with Secret Slayers when Adamancipator and Eldritch both just burst onto the scene, and pretty much if you weren't playing Eldritch or Adamancipator, you weren't winning. Are we going to quite hit that level? I don't think so, because I think enough decks have enough power now that they can still compete. However, Splight and Tier Elements are going to introduce two strategies to the game that are really going to change things up. So this is our post-Power the Elements tier list. Let us know what you guys think. Being honest, this is probably one of the least confident I am in a tier list. I mean, I'm still feeling pretty good about my choices, but like usually it's like, yep, that's it, no questions. Now there's a couple that they could change. They could, surprise us. So we'll see. ABC specifically, like with Therions and everything like that. I think they're still gonna be a pretty strong deck. Do I think that they're tier 1? Absolutely not. Are they tier 1.5? Maybe, but I'm gonna actually put them towards the top of tier 2. They really like burst onto the scene and then kind of faded away pretty quickly as well. Bird Up was doing pretty good, but with these two decks coming out, I think so many people are going to be playing them. A lot of decks are going to suffer, like representation wise. I think our last one we had like 4 or 5 tier 1 decks, and then like 8 or 9 tier 1.5 decks. And this format I think are going to start to dwindle down and have much less tier 1 and 1.5, whereas there's going to be a whole bunch of like tier 2 decks that could still do really good. I just don't think the representation is going to be there, and as such I think so many people are going to be playing these other decks that they really just kind of take the limelight of everything. Branded Eldritch, I do still think that's a strong 1.5 deck. It's best way to play Eldritch. Maybe one of those two decks will splash it in. Splight seems to fit with almost everything. I don't see the synergy with level 5s and 10s and traps, but hey, people have tried weirder things. Speaking of Splight, mixing in Cyber Dragon and Splight actually work really well. If you want to see a deck list and replays, check out on the channel. We just put our video up. I was getting kind of bored of the format, looking ahead towards Power the Elements, and I was like, hey, Core's a level 2, it can revive itself because searching Rev system, potentially make Infinity to protect all your other combos anyway. Like, let's go for it and see what we can do. And honestly, it's been surprising me. The deck is way better than I thought it was going to be, and it might just be the best way to play Cyber Dragon moving forward. But until we start to see results, I can't put them anywhere above Rogue. If your deck does not show up on here, there's a small chance I just forgot it. Otherwise, that means it's in the Rogue or just not very good category. Put it in either one that you want. If you really want to know my opinion on a specific deck, comment it down below. I mean, there's things like Heroes and a whole bunch of other Rogue decks that are like just obviously Rogue, but we're not going to put every single Rogue deck into this video. DDD, it's still really hard to play, and I think a lot of those players are going to be moving on to other decks, but it's still a tier 2 deck. Deck still is pretty good. Despia, I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to put Despia. I'm going to leave them towards the top of tier 1.5 for now. I think Despia is obviously, like most decks, better when people aren't prepared for it, and people started not to, and it started to make a little bit more of a comeback because, I mean, it was always right there behind swordsoul for like most tops in the format, but it seemed like people started to fall out of favor on Despia, but now it's starting to come back again. Dynamorphia, pretty good, strong trap-based strategy. Putting them in the Rogue category. Dragon Link, Adventure Dragon Link, I think they're 1.5. I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a run at like winning Nats. What deck do I think wins the U.S. Nationals this weekend? Should be starting today by the time you're watching this video. I really don't know. We'll wait till after the video, or at the end of the video, and then I'll make my pick. Drytron, really strong tier 2 deck. We're going to put them just above ABC. Just like even Benton at 1, they were still pretty good. They got another Benton back. That's just, deck's really strong. Other Eldritch variants we're going to put as tier 2 because, like we said, Branded Eldritch is just distinctively better than other Eldritch variants, so we are going to separate them a little bit that way. Live Twins, this is like the Live Twin, Evil Twin not playing it in Splite, because this is probably one of the better ways to play Splite along with Frogs. I think Frog is probably going to be the most popular, with like Evil Twin or Twin, Live Twin, whatever. Splite being like the second best way to play it. Exo Sisters, I think they're going to be tier 2. I don't like to jump on the hype train of all these OCG decks right away, and it seems like one of them has to falter and not do as good, and that would be Exo Sister, if any of them. But I am going to put them at the back end of tier 2 for now. floowandereeze 1.5. Deck's so annoying to play against though, but it's a good checks and balances for the game and for the format. Moving on to the next one now, we have Grenmaju. I think this is going to be even better later. I want to mess with the Mr. Ruin cards and like Grenmaju and some things. I think that potentially could change the format up a lot too. Like banishing your opponent's deck, it's kind of good, especially versus combo. Add Ignisters, they're a strong tier 2 deck. We'll put them like right in that area. These aren't going to be like perfect in order per se, but we'll try and get them pretty close. Ignister, just a bunch of 1-card combos, whole bunch of hand traps, all that good stuff. Normal Summon Alistair, also tier 2. PK is going to be one of the better rogue strategies. It's so weird because a few formats ago it's like, oh, PK, best deck. And now it's, yeah, maybe they're rogue still. The Brave Engine's still there. Plunder Patrol is one of the decks that can take advantage of it very nicely, but there's still going to be a rogue strategy. Branded Predaplant, I'm going to put them like mid to mid-high tier 2. The deck can do a lot of nice little things. I just, like I said, there's so many of these decks I think are just going to be struggling from lack of representation. And then we get into our first tier 1 deck. I think Punk Therion's got a decent chance to stay at tier 1. I kind of hinted at it already that the new decks, we'll go ahead and just jump them both right up there. Splite and Tier Elements, I think, are going to be tier 1. Splite for sure. Like, there's no question about it. Will it push tier 0? I don't know. I don't think so, but I think it's going to be like clear-cut best deck. I do think once people start like getting ready for it though, and everyone's planning to play against it, it may come dip down, but I think there's no way Splite isn't a tier 1 deck. Tier Elements, man, I've played against this deck a few times. We're working on how to go against, guide against them for both Splite and Tier Elements, and this deck is just not fun to go against. They do so many things that if they open the one, I can't think of its name offhand, on your turn 0, like your first turn, you activate a monster effect, they can summon it, and then they send, and they just start snowballing right away before their turn even begins. And it's just, the deck does so much on your turn. Honestly, it's really not that fun, but I think it's going to be a hard deck to pilot, so I think less people are going to be playing this and more on Splite. However, don't sleep on Tier Elements. Like, the deck is really, really strong. Rika, you guys might be like, why is that even on here? I'm actually going to sneak them up here in a tier 2. Let's just call it a hunch. I think that there's some potential there, and I know some people, like pretty notable players, who are messing around with the deck, and I don't think they would do that if it were a really poor choice overall. Will it stay at tier 2? Will it go down? I don't know, but I want to put it up there. I think that there's a chance that they surprise some people. Salamangreat, also going to put them at the tier 2 level. It's another one like Ignister, where it's like pretty simple combos and just fit in a whole bunch of hand traps and all that other good stuff. Sky Striker, where do we want to put the Sky Striker? I'm going to go back end of 1.5, maybe right above floowandereeze even. Yeah, like, Striker just seems like it's never going to go anywhere. They got engaged, they got, Kagari at 3, they got all their cards that they need, but they can fit in, like, so many different engines and packages, and it seems like whether you're playing like a pile striker deck, whether you're playing just like pure striker, hand trap striker, Mystic Mind striker, because the deck plays with Mystic Mind better than maybe any other deck in the game. Sky Striker just does not want to go anywhere. Sun Avalon, that's another one like that does take advantage of the Therions. Usually, they're probably one of the best rogue decks out there. Sword Soul, where do we put Sword Soul? I was really undecided at first. I was like, no question in my mind, and then I'm like, well, will they still do good? I do think that they have an alright chance to compete with the top decks, so I do want to leave Sword Soul in tier 1 for now. I could see them dropping down to tier 1.5, but I don't know. I think Sword Soul's got all the tools they need to keep combating the format. Earth Machine, another really strong rogue deck. Tri Brigade as well. Like, we don't need to keep talking about these decks like that have been around for a while and what they do. Unchained, taking advantage of your opponent popping your cards and everything. Another good rogue strategy if you're looking for something to play. Virtual World, another one of the better rogue strategies. So, like I said, we don't need to sit here and talk about the decks that we've, talked about countless times on these tier lists. But like I said too, we had like 13 or so at 1 and 1.5, if not like 13, 14 last time, down to 9 this time, and like as the format develops, we might even see like these two could potentially drop down, maybe one drops down. I don't think any of these decks are going to move up. Maybe Tier Laments flops and drops down a little bit, and then like Splight, Punk, and Sword Soul stay at the top. I think at least 3 of these decks actually are going to stay on tier 1. Down here, I really don't know, like with Branded Eldritch, Despia even, because it's like Despia is one of those decks where the players, like, I'm playing best deck and they're on Despia, and I think they're going to move to Splight. But like representation wise, I could see like either of these flow all like potentially moving down, and we might just have a really small 1.5 format, and then a whole bunch of tier 2 decks, and then obviously all of our rogue strategies. US Nats this weekend. What deck is gonna win it all? I'm gonna pick one off our list here. Shout out Dragon Rider Games, come play best online tournaments. But sorry, Luke, Normal Summon Alistair is not going to win the event. Oh, do I go spicy with our prediction, or do I pick something that's probably more likely to happen? I think Punk Therion loses in the finals. So we're going to say Punk Therion loses in the final to... Who do they lose to? Part of me just wants to say Sky Striker out of spite. Out of Splight, maybe. I'm going to go Dragon Link over Punk Therion with 2 Sword Souls also making top 4 and both losing top 4. And then I'll just, for the heck of it, we'll say top 8's 3 Sword Soul, 1 Dragon Link, 2 Punk Therion, Despia, and Sky Striker. And I'll leave it at that. We'll come back to this video after Nats and see how good I did on my prediction. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think about the list. Let me know what you think about the predictions. What decks do you think are going to win Nats? Till next time, guys, thanks for watching and take care.